All right, we're back here on SportsLine. By the way, we were having a couple technical difficulties in the first segment of the show, and so if you tried to call in the first segment, for some reason the phone system wasn't letting you. I was wondering why the phone lines were so blank and people didn't want to talk to me. But the system is fixed now, so if you were trying to get in and you got some sort of a busy signal or passed on or something like that, call back now. We'll make sure to get you on the air. Phone the line 737-7767. Talking Titans, their big win on Sunday in Detroit. What do you expect from them moving forward? And also, my weekly NFL Power Rankings released earlier today on newschannel5.com. Go check them out there. Also get them from my Twitter, @SteveLehman. Went through the top 3 choices. I do the top 5, and then weekly, I put where the Titans would be in my power rankings as well. We did the top 3 choices in the first segment. Steelers, Patriots, Broncos out of the AFC. I think right now they would be favorites to win their divisions, and then in the playoffs have to fight it out for who can win the AFC. 4 and 5 to me. Then move over to the NFC. 4 might be a little bit of a surprise to some people, especially based off of the events early on in the season. But right now, I have the Vikings at number 4. And yes, I know they looked pretty terrible in week 1 here in Tennessee. But they looked much better with Sam Bradford at the helm instead of Sean Hill on Sunday Night Football this week against the Packers. And last week I had the Packers fairly high up in my power rankings. I thought this was a year where Aaron Rodgers, he gets some weapons back, Jordy Nelson's healthy. I thought that offense takes a step forward, and when you talk to people around the Packers, they believe this is their best defense since when they went to the Super Bowl 5 years ago. Or 6 years ago. The Vikings took it to him. Bradford threw for 286 yards. Stephon Diggs looks like an all-pro type of receiver right now. He was really good against the Titans. He was great again on Sunday against the Packers. There is a concern about Adrian Peterson now with the torn meniscus. This is a team that has a quarterback that's out, and you have a running back that's now out for some part of the time. But Peterson's proven in the past that he can recover very quickly and just comes back seemingly better and stronger than ever. Right now, based off of their 2 wins and the fact that they're 2-0, and if you look around the NFC, there's a bunch of problems in the NFC. I've got the Vikings next up on my power rankings. I just like them better. You look out west, everybody out west has a loss to this point. You look in the South, everybody's got a loss to this point. You look in the NFC East, you got a couple teams there that are 2-0, but are we believing in the Eagles and Carson Wentz right now? I'm not, over the Vikings. Are we believing in the Giants and a first-year coach right now? I'm not, over the Vikings. As a matter of fact, when we go to number 5 on the list, staying in the NFC, I basically think 2 teams are right there. I think it's the rematch of last year's NFC Championship game, Panthers-Cardinals. Take your pick. One's 5, one's 6. I used a tie this week since I stop at 5. I wanted to acknowledge them both. They both won this week, so they get back in the column after tough losses in week 1s. But these teams are very similar to what they were last year when they got to the NFC Championship game. The Panthers' offense, I think, is better. Cam Newton's the reigning NFL MVP. He's awesome. He had 4 touchdowns in their win on Sunday over the Niners. And here's the biggest thing. He has his most dangerous target back and productive this year. Kelvin Benjamin is a legit number 1 receiver in the National Football League. And through 2 weeks, he's got 3 touchdowns. He has become Cam Newton's de facto target, especially in the red zone with that huge size and frame. That's big. To go along with that defense, I think a lot of people would still make the Panthers the favorite in the NFC this year because of that. The Cardinals also looked just like a steamroller on Sunday against the Bucs. That was an epic meltdown by Tampa Bay, but give credit to Arizona. They just marched up and down the field. They showed a dynamic passing game. Carson Palmer with 3 touchdowns, 308 yards passing in that game as they racked up 40 points. Chris Johnson's back healthy. He had a rushing touchdown in the game as well. And Bruce Arians just seems to have the magic touch with the teams he coaches. He gets the best results out of them, especially on the offensive side of the football. So those are my thoughts. Those are my top 5 of the power rankings. Steelers number 1, Patriots number 2, although we'll find out a little bit more about them this week as they go down to a third quarterback in Jacoby Brissett against the Texans. Broncos number 3 at 2-0, although I feel that they will drop. Vikings at number 4 at 2-0 after beating the Packers on Sunday night. And then kind of a tie between the Panthers and Cardinals for number 5. What do you think? Agree, disagree? Who am I leaving out? 737-7767 is the number for you to get in. And where should the Titans be? I will tell you that after the win on Sunday in Detroit, I moved the Titans up 6 spots in my view of the NFL. I had them at 26 last week. I think this is a much better Titans team, and I've said that for a while, than what we've seen the past couple of years. The question is just how much better, and what does that mean for wins? What does that mean within the division? Even after the loss to Minnesota last week, I still had a team, not down at 31 or 32, where they've kind of hung the last couple of years in terms of a record in the NFL. But I had them 26th. And I had them 26 because I thought for the most part in that game, they went against a team that obviously is in my top 5 this week, but a team that won a division last year, should have won a playoff game if it wasn't for Blair Walsh missing a chip shot field goal. And the Titans, for large parts, controlled the line of scrimmage, or at least held their own at the line of scrimmage against a very physical Vikings team on both sides of the ball. If it wasn't for those turnovers, they probably win that Week 1 game. Probably should have won that Week 1 game against the Vikings. So even though they lost, I had them 26. I thought there were teams that were worse and are worse than them. And then the way they came back, showing the resilience and toughness to get a win on the road, to limit a potent Lions offense the way they did to just 15 points. 3 points in the second half of that game. To me, that showed a lot. So I moved the Titans up this week from 26th all the way to 20th. And this time of year, things are going to be pretty fluid. You get a big win, you have a loss, you can slide or move up significantly. And that's what they did. Still not a playoff picture type of thing. I think that this team is a bit off of that right now. They've got to play better. You can't have the penalties. So this offense has to get going more for them to get in that discussion. But this is a much better team to me than what we've seen in the past. And like I said, there's an opportunity in front of them here. What we saw were a lot of good things. Although it didn't look great for 3 quarters, the way they figured out a way to win that game and come back from a double-digit second-half lead with a couple of those touchdown passes, that's what you're looking for. And while it's just one win, maybe this is the win that gets them going. You know, Mike Mularkey said last week that they just have to figure out how to win one of these close games. This team just needs to learn how to finish. Maybe the way they finished and the way they won on Sunday did just that for this team. Maybe that's all they needed to get going. We'll find out over the coming weeks because, as we said, this schedule provides an opportunity. A game this weekend at home against the Raiders that I think the Titans should be a favorite in. Then a chance against the team currently leading the AFC South and the defending AFC South champion Texans. on the road, but it's an opportunity. A Dolphins team, maybe an opportunity to get another road win there. And then back home for 3 games, including 2 of those games in your division. The next 6 weeks to the end of October, to me, tells a lot about what this Titans season will be. Will they be a contender in the AFC South as a wild card team in the AFC? Or will it be more of the same? I think we'll know beyond a shadow of the doubt which way that goes by the end of next month. That's the way the schedule goes. Gets a little tougher after that. You got some road games, 3 of 4 in November. You got San Diego on the road, Indianapolis on the road. You got the Packers coming to town. You got the Broncos coming up in December. It does get tougher. You got the Chiefs in December. There are some difficult games left on the schedule, but if you navigate those 6 games and say you go 4-2 against those 6 games, if you sit there at 5-3 at the midway point of the year, you got a shot. You got a shot to win 4 or 5 more games and put yourself in position. At least be competitive. And when you get to December, talk about meaningful games. Talk about games that matter in the division. Talk about games that matter in the playoff race. That's something we haven't had around here in a long time. 2013, Mike Munchak's last season, it hung around a bit into November and maybe right up until December. But when they lost a couple of games, there it was over. And the final 2 games sort of sugar-coated the season a bit. But they were pretty much out of it in December. The last 2 years, obviously, they were out of it. 2012, they were out of it. The last time you really have to get back to a time when the Titans were relevant throughout the course of the season was 2011. That team with Matt Hasselbeck as the starting quarterback, Mike Munchak's first team. They ended up going 9-7, winning on the final day in Houston. And there was scenarios with that win that could have gotten the Titans into the playoffs. They needed several other things to happen, and they didn't all happen, and they didn't get in. But that was a team that went 9-7 and was on a discussion the last day of the regular season to get into the playoffs. But that was 5 years ago. There have been 4 whole seasons played where the Titans have essentially been irrelevant to the division and playoff discussion. Will they factor in this year? I think we start to get those answers over the next several weeks. Big win on Sunday sets the table for this. You lose that, it's 0-2. I think there's a lot more to prove. But at 1-1 with the next 6 weeks in front of them, the Titans are positioned to make a statement that they are in the conversation this year. And we'll find out. What do you think about my power rankings, 1 through 5? What do you think about the Titans at 20 after being 1-1 through the first couple of weeks? We got to take a break. We can get to your thoughts. 737-7767 is the number. Maybe the phones still aren't working. Who knows? Nobody called in that segment either. We think they're working. We would love to hear from you. Call us up, 737-7767. Also coming up, revisit Colin Kaepernick. Big news in the country this week. And some hot takes from some journalists around the country that I'm not overly keen on. We'll talk about that coming up next as well. Stay tuned. This is SportsLine on News Channel 5+.